Hello everybody, welcome to another installment of Plagued by Visions. My name is Juan and I'm here to tell you about a super special thing that just happened in my life. I went to San Diego Comic-Con, which is I think the biggest comic convention or convention of any kind. Certainly here in California, I don't know about the nation, but if not, then pretty close. It's a huge fucking deal. And I got to experience it for just a day out of the 4 days, but still it was definitely more than enough. I came out overstimulated and very happy. But moreover, even more special than that is that I got to go there for free because I was invited to speak at a panel there. A panel that focused on queer horror, and I was up there with other brilliant, amazing queer horror artists. And it was an amazing, incredible time. So I just want to make this video to kind of not vlog, but walk you through the experience and let you know what it was like, and let you know that here at Plagued by Visions, we're getting the word on transgressive and disturbing fiction out there to bigger audiences. So that was really exciting. It was really cool. It felt really empowering, and I feel sort of personally important to be in touch with other queer artists. So let's just get right into it. So the first thing I want to explain is actually how I even ended up going, because this is very important. I was actually there invited to replace a friend of mine who was sadly unable to make it there themselves. My friend's name is Valerie Complex. They're an amazing artist. I've actually talked about something they worked on the channel before, which was a comic called Recognize, all about queer history and empowerment, mainly centered in the New York area, talking about activists like Marsha P. Johnson and Silvia Rivera. Incredible, very moving comic. I read it sometime during Pride Month, and it felt really empowering, and the message was really resounding and felt more prescient than ever. Brilliant artists. We've only connected for a short amount of time, but I am just in awe of Valerie's work, in awe of their attitude, their kindness, their support. Amazing. So I just want to say, this would have never happened had it not been for Valerie. So what I'm going to do is make a call to action to all of you, beautiful visions. I am going to link all of Valerie's writing in the description, and I'll let you know specifically which links they are. And I ask you, please engage with this wonderful artist's work. Follow them on social media, send them a message, say, hey, Juan sent me here, you're amazing, or I'm here to support, keep up the good work, all of that. Really, I think the resounding message that I came away with during that panel was, we need to support queer artists, and queer artists need to support each other. So this is why I'm doing this. And then, of course, as I tell you about my experience, I will tell you about the other amazing artists that I was there with and link their stuff down below. So basically, please, if you come away with anything from this video, please have it be a willingness and an enthusiasm to engage with and support the work of all these wonderful, wonderful people. So yes, thank you so much, Valerie, for inviting me to be part of the panel. It was an incredible, life-changing experience, something I will never forget. You've truly impacted my life. So yes, Valerie wasn't able to make it and asked me to step in and be part of the panel. Of course, the first thing that struck me was this overwhelming sense of imposter syndrome, as is usual for me. But just thinking, I have one book that I published independently. I have this channel, right, which is like my pride and joy, but I by no means see it as a paramount moment of queer horror representation, or at least I didn't before the panel. But I said, fuck it, when else will I ever get to go to Comic-Con? And being invited to speak at a fucking panel there, nonetheless, of course I said yes, of course. But I was very worried, I was very anxious. But I'm very happy to say everything turned out all right. So it was, Comic-Con is in San Diego, of course, and I live about 2 hours from there. So the drive there, very usual. I go to San Diego all the time. I guess the most unusual thing was that I had to take the train there. So I parked about like 15-20 minutes away from where the San Diego Convention Center is, and I took the little train to the station. There's a station right in front of the convention center, and that was fun because I know like taking a train is not like an exciting thing to probably most people who live in big cities, but I'm from a small town. I've never done anything like that. Even when I lived and worked in San Diego because I'm such a small town shy boy. It was just going to work and then back home. So it was good to like get out there, you know, have a little experience of like, I'm in a big city, I'm traveling on my own and having fun. And this whole monologue, I think, will kind of clarify to you all that me leaving the house is a momentous event around here. So I get there, and there's a huge line of people going in. And from what I understand, this Comic-Con this year was actually very, very small by comparison, because of the whole like writers' strikes that are going on, which I of course fully support. I want everybody to strike. You know, I want everybody to demand better living and working conditions and wages and protections and all of that. Yeah, so that means that the Comic-Con that I experienced is not like the Comic-Con as it is known, with like the big, huge like studio film announcements and stuff like that. But I am actually really happy that the year I got to go to Comic-Con was this one, because it felt, yes, a lot smaller, but because of that, a lot more, you know, together. And it really felt like it was about the artists, you know, just walking around, you're seeing, you know, yes, of course, a bunch of products being sold, but, you know, also just indie businesses, just regular people selling their comics, you know, selling their art. And even at the panel that I spoke in, you know, it wasn't there to advertise anything. It wasn't there to any of the sort. It was just celebrating our existence, speaking about our struggles, and feeling united, you know, feeling like, you know, okay, we're forging a space even in the midst of so much, you know, so many questions about the future of entertainment, the future of art. Even then, we got together, we celebrated, it was fun. So I am so happy actually that I got to go to Comic-Con on the year where all of these actors' strikes were going, because I felt like, if anything, it was a moment of, you know, that resounding message of, you know, we're still here, you know, we're celebrating ourselves. And it felt like celebrating, you know, the little artists like myself a lot as well. So that was wonderful. But still, like I said, even then, even though it was one of the smaller Comic-Cons, boy, I was overwhelmed, overstimulated. I tried to get some footage, you know, do a whole like vlogging moment. I could only get sparse footage of me walking around here and there, because my mind was just blown. But I will be rolling all of that footage as I am saying all of this. Yeah, it was just walking around really is all I did. There were 2 floors, from what I understand. I don't even know if there was a 3rd floor. I didn't even get to explore that much. But the first floor is basically where all the booths and exhibits are. That's where I spent virtually most of the time that I was there, and really just walking around. Just walking around back and forth in that same area was entertaining and fulfilling enough for me for the day that I was there. I have to say, my favorite exhibit that was there, and the only place where I bought stuff and actually spent a while looking, was the Junji Ito exhibit that they had there, which I was not even aware that they had there until I got there. So that was a great surprise. Junji Ito is an artist that I followed for years and years, and weirdly feel very proud of where his legacy is at, because I watched his art grow from, like, you know, bad scans on the internet from like this weird Japanese artist who makes really fucked up manga, to now him being like a household name of the horror genre, and sort of like the poster image of what we understand to be horror manga. It was amazing. And so seeing a huge exhibit dedicated to his works was mind-blowing. and the most magical thing that I experienced at Comic-Con was I was making line at the Junji Ito exhibit to like buy some stuff, and as I was making line, I hadn't even noticed that literally right next to me on a wall were a bunch of original drawings from him. Like, I was like inches away from an original drawing from the manga Uzumaki, and that was mind-blowing. So well worth it for that alone. I got to take a picture with one of the stinky sharks on legs from the manga Gyo. I got to, buy some cool stuff. I only bought 2 things at Comic-Con. They were both Junji Ito things, and I am so in love and happy with what I bought. So let me show you. First thing I bought was this volume of stories of his iconic character Soichi. And I actually was really happy because I didn't even notice when I got this. I'd gotten it before it came out. So this is out now, I think, as of the day that I'm uploading this, July 25th. but I got to read it beforehand, so that was an honor, well worth it alone. And I loved it. This is not one of my favorite Junji Ito releases. Not a usual kind of release. You're not gonna get like the appalling, mind-shattering, Lovecraftian hellscapes that we're used to from the man. You do get horrificness here, but it is lighter. It is more concentrated on the character of Soichi, his antics, and I see him as kind of like a proxy for Junji Ito himself. Just like a really awkward, hilarious, but also very unnerving and horrific person. I feel like this entire volume was just like Ito setting out his philosophy of why he writes horror. And to me, like, the reason seemed to be like, it's just fun. And that was fun. And I love this so much. Like, next to Cat Diary, this is now my favorite Junji Ito. And the other thing that I bought, also Soichi related, was this incredible print of, Soichi having some fun with all of his victims that appear throughout his story. So yeah, I have to kind of like do it like this so the freaking ring light glare doesn't get on it. But isn't that amazing? This is incredible. Like, I was so like happy when I got this, and I hadn't really bought stuff like this for myself in a while, like posters and manga. So it felt good, to kind of like engage with that hobby of mine that felt semi-abandoned and find some really cool stuff that I actually really appreciate. And to have seen Junji Ito's original work in person, I mean, what else can I say? It was amazing. So like I said, as far as booths, vendors, all that stuff, I didn't really see anything else that I specifically enjoyed, but just walking around was enjoyable enough. And then at 3 p.m. on that day, on that Friday, July 21st, was when we had our panel over on room 4 on the event center. And that's another thing that I should mention, is that there were a bunch of panels going on, but sadly I just did not have time to look at any of the other ones. But I was at my panel with the audience that was there to see us. That was good enough. So I walked in actually while the other panel was finishing up, the one before us, and I sat there waiting patiently for our turn. And then as the other panel ended and everybody's walking out, and I'm thinking, I wonder what the turnout's gonna be like, because the panel before us, the audience was kind of sparse. So I was like, okay, it's a sizable audience that's making me a little nervous, but I feel like I can handle it. I'll be all right. And then as the previous panel is ending and the previous audience is walking out, some announcer walks in and says, all right, just letting you all know, the next panel is gonna be full, so I'm gonna need everybody that's currently here for this panel to step out. So I'm like, wait, the next panel is gonna be full. That's our panel. So instantly, anxiety, butthole clenching, all of it settles in. I'm very nervous about this. Like I said, I'm on a panel with people who are, filmmakers, artists, people who are used to these kinds of dynamics. I'm on that panel because I do videos, talking to my phone in my bedroom. So very, very nervous. I was very, very anxious. So of course, this is where I should say who I was doing the panel with. And of course, mind you, everything's being linked down below in terms of these wonderful people's social media accounts and all of that. So the panel was being moderated by Michael Varrati, who is a filmmaker known for works such as There's a Zombie Outside, and also for his podcast, The Midnight Mass. Up there with me were also Teri Gamble, who I met personally, and I was just struck and in love with her attitude, her personality. She was amazing. So big shout out to Teri. I was also up there with artists Viktor Kerney, Andy Mangels, and Adam Sass. And yeah, when they all walked in, and they said hi to me, welcomed me into the space, and said, oh, like we're really excited for you to be here. A lot of that anxiety and nervousness really washed off. And that's where I say it's really good. It's really important to feel included, right? It's really important to feel like you are part of a conversation and what you have to say matters. So I was very, very touched and glad that the people that I was doing this panel with provided that for me, because it helped immensely. So really, what can I say about the panel? I don't know if it was recorded. I didn't record it. I wasn't able to set anybody up to record it for me, so I apologize for that. There's only a few pictures of what happened here and there. I'm sure somebody in the audience recorded it. because there was an audience of 100 people in there, and from what I heard, even more that stayed outside because they just didn't fit anymore. So it was a full panel, just people there, willing to hear out about what I previously thought was a topic with almost zero engagement or interest, right? Queer horror, something so, at least when I was growing up, so ostracized, so weird and off-putting and transgressive and distasteful and disdained, right? That this converging of topics that seems so unlikely, almost impossible to me before. There was suddenly an audience there just excited to engage with what we queer horror artists had to say. It was amazing. But it was an hour-long panel, and it was one of those things where the next thing I knew, it was over, right? The hour flew by. I was just sitting there mesmerized by people's answers, people's discussions. I try to give some insights of my own. And I was happy to say, and I'm happy to report to you all, I was the only person on that panel that did horror of like a disturbing, transgressive kind. So there was a triumph there in that I felt like I was bringing in very important topics of conversation when it comes to queer literature, right? Like we queers sort of invented the whole transgressive fiction gig, right? But so it was phenomenal to have been there and be able to name drop Georges Bataille and talk about the theory of transgression and how important it is for us queer people, especially queer people of color, to come to terms with our monstrosity and marginalization. So we talked about all kinds of things. And then from what Michael Varrati, again, the panel moderator, said, in previous years that he's done this panel, because this queer horror panel has been done before, it had, always an air of joy and celebration, right? And there was that in this panel as well, more towards the second half, I feel. But the first half really did feel like this important airing out of all the maladies that are currently plaguing the queer community, right? Saying, yeah, it's fucked up. It's fucked up. We're being dehumanized. We're being further marginalized. We're having our rights stripped from us. We're slowly, but more and more being figured as monsters in society. It sucks. And there was like even an air of grieving over that a little bit. But then, our answers always moved towards empowerment, towards celebration, towards recognition. And I said, on my channel, I review indie works, and I have been desperate to see more indie works by queer people of color specifically. Because I even feel like queer horror itself, even though it's meant to celebrate, marginalized identities, I've just always felt that queer horror is just too overwhelmingly white. So that's another reason why I was happy to be there. And that's another reason why I was so happy to see other queer artists of color working within the realm of horror up there. Like I said, big shout out to Teri and Viktor who were on that panel. They were amazing as well. So yeah, given the state of the world, things were a little more serious, a little more grave, a little more call to action-y. But we still all felt, celebrated, included, cherished for our otherness. It was amazing. The panel ended. I got to talk a little bit with some of the other panelists. So such nice people, such kind people. And let me tell you all, the most amazing experience that I had. So as you know, ComicCon has, I'm willing to say, hundreds of workers there. There's just security and but people organizing, the way that people, the flow of people and the flow of the panels and stuff, like there's just Comic-Con workers at every corner of the event center. And there were a couple, in there with us as we were doing the panel. I'm sure just, checking for time, checking that everything's organized and flowing well, etc. So after the panel ended, it was mostly the audience, right, coming up to us and saying, hey, that was great. Great to meet you. Great to hear your perspective, blah, blah, blah. It was the audience. But then as we stepped out of the event room, a Comic-Con worker comes up to me, and I'm like, oh shit, I got nervous, like, did I do something wrong? Did I steal something and didn't even notice? But this Comic-Con worker is coming up to me to tell me in Spanish that his name is Santiago, that he is a Mexican migrant worker who's ended up there working at Comic-Con, and that he was, there in the presence of me being up there on that panel, and that it made him extremely happy and proud to see a Mexican person talking up there, right? And it's just one of those things where you don't really even notice that you're bringing anything to the table that's special to someone, but then they come up and tell you, and it colors the entire experience very differently. So, Santiago, muchas gracias por tus palabras, por tu apoyo. La verdad no sé si terminaste viendo el canal o no, pero la verdad, esa experiencia fue la mejor que tuve en un evento tan enorme, con tantas cosas que hacer. La conversación que tuve contigo fue la mejor parte, así que muchas gracias, y muy orgulloso yo también de haber sido una persona mexicana ahí hablando de cochinadas. Muchas gracias. But yes, it was amazing just seeing that, you know, even things like even just me going to a panel at Comic-Con to talk can bring a sense of identity and empowerment to other people. That's beautiful, and it's really empowered me and like rearrange things in my head as to what I'm doing this channel for, right? Yeah, I do it because horror fascinates me, because transgressive, yucky things fascinate me. But I also do it because, you know, I notice. I try not to talk about it too much or be too obnoxious about it, but I notice, right? Like, I'm one of the very, very, very few people of color doing something like this, right? And most of the people here, even in this corner booktube, as we like to talk it, are white, and they bring fascinating, incisive, intelligent perspectives to everything, of course, but it's all white, you know, it's all white and from a very sort of like homogenous cultural background, and me coming in here, you know, for years has felt alienating, you know, ostracizing, of course, but it's also felt empowering, inclusive, and all of that has to do with you all, my audience, who has constantly told me, you know, you are intelligent, what you are doing here matters. The visibility that you bring, the commentary that you bring is unique. Y'all been telling me this for years, and I just never really believed it, because imposter syndrome is something, you know, very tough to beat, let's just say. But that experience, you know, going to a panel, to speak at a panel at Comic-Con, meeting Santiago, you know, and just feeling included in the conversation, all of that was very life-changing, I have to say, and in a very, very positive way. So once again, huge shout out to Valerie. Please check out their writing. Again, please do. Like, seriously, please do. But Valerie, thank you so much for this amazing opportunity. It was one of the best days of my life. And of course, thank you to Michael Varrati, the organizer, who was also incredibly nice, such a nice person, incredibly supportive, and just said, you know, we're happy to have you here. Come talk about queer horror. And I said, okay, thank you. So yeah, all in all, incredible experience, incredible. And I'm glad I get to share it with you all. So yeah, I have this newfound sense of purpose. You know, I am here to write and talk about queer horror and empower people of color who look like me, who have never seen someone like me doing something like this. So that's the working philosophy we're going to try to maintain moving forward. Thank you all so much. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed hearing about the experience, hearing about me, you know, fully, like, ceremonially coming out of the artistic closet and saying, you know, yes, I am a queer horror artist. I am a brown man who likes nasty things, and apparently there are people who identify with that. So I'm doing this for them. All right. Thank you all so much. As always, thank you all to all of my donators, to all of my Patreon supporters. If you would like to support my Patreon, which is reward free, just another way for you to donate and help the channel out, that is in the description. You have the option to donate for as little as $1 a month up to $5 a month. Cancel anytime. All right. So thank you. Hope you're all well. Continue to stay safe, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.